Elly De La Cruz hits for the cycle as the Reds take down the Pirates, and we have several last inning comebacks. This is MLB Game Night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in to MLB Game Night, your source of daily Major League Baseball recaps. Only the way that Locked On can do it for you, with our local experts bringing you their thoughts from every single game. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby, host of the Braves Postcast. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. He's Steve Lenox, host of the Red Sox Postcast at Lenox on Baseball on X. And Steve, the biggest single swing of the day goes to our tall king, Elly De La Cruz. Hits a grand slam in the 5-2 Reds victory over the Pirates. I want to play for you real quick the thoughts of Jeff Carr, host of Locked On Reds, and some of his takeaways from being in the ballpark for today's game.
And that's 2 series wins for the Reds. Back-to-back series wins, and Elly De La Cruz is the star. What's up? This is Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast. And Elly De La Cruz bobblehead night leads to Elly De La Cruz Grand Slam night. Crazy, amazing Grand Slam by him. 107 miles an hour off the bat, 40-degree launch angle. The kind of numbers that make no sense whatsoever, but because he's Elly, that was a grand slam, and that was the difference in the ball game. Pretty solid pitching effort from Andrew Abbott in 5 solid innings, and then Tony Santillan, he got 4 outs on 11 pitches. I think we should see more from him. Emilio Pagan with the save as well. But ultimately, this was about Elly and the amazing home run that we saw from him. More to come from Elly De La Cruz. More to come from this lineup as the Reds move toward a series sweep, hopefully tomorrow, against these Buccos with Hunter Green on the mound.
Steve, when Elly De La Cruz is doing things like this, what is the ceiling for the Cincinnati Reds?
I think we've sort of been hinting at it. Blanked, 1-0 losses, and all of a sudden the bats went very quiet. There's tremendous potential here. And during that stretch where they were, famine on the hitting side, they've gotten great pitching. And Jeff mentioned it right there. You're going for the series sweep, and you've got Hunter Green on the mound. Lodolo, what they've done with their pitching, we've touched on Brady Singer. I'm really liking this. And we haven't even really mentioned, Lindsay, of Terry Francona is the manager of this team. I put a lot of stock in that. I'm liking where the Reds are going right now. And in that Central, have at it.
Andrew Abbott's first start off the IL, 5 innings.
There's another one.
Yeah. You just more guys. Rhett Lauder's in the pipeline coming, their top draft pick from last year. It almost, you kind of think that it's hard for Cincinnati to get pitching in that ballpark, similar to how the Rockies have trouble getting pitching in their ballpark. But to your point, between Cincinnati's talent they've developed and then having a manager in Terry Francona that knows when to deploy those guys, when to pull them, things like that, feels like they've got a winning formula. It's just a matter of everybody hitting at the same time, like they did today.
And when you touch on the ballpark like that ballpark's plays real small once it gets warmer. I just want to give one note because Jeff did share this on social media. Now 3-0 when Jeff and Hannah Carr attend a Reds game together. Note to Hannah, when that streak comes to an end, put Jeff on probation and go to games by yourself.
If only it was that. Reds fans, if you're watching this show, start a GoFundMe to get tickets for those two to go to every single game if you guys want to win the World Series.
Well said.
Flip side of that, Pirates, only the 2 runs here. Our own Gary Morgan had some thoughts about how that game went.
The Pirates dropped Game 2 to the Reds tonight, 5-2, and it was all about one big swing. Hey, this is Gary from Locked On Pirates. Great night for Andrew Heaney, except for one inning where he got the bases loaded by hitting guys and walking guys, and then up came the most talented player on the field for either team, Elly De La Cruz, and he hit a grand slam on a ball that really a talented player had to be the one swinging the bat to get that out of the ballpark, even in Great American Ballpark. Kudos to him. Alex Canario got a chance to start in center field tonight for the Pirates, which was interesting. O'Neal Cruz is still nicked up. First home run as a Bucko, 2 walks, and a couple runs scored. Good stuff from him. Important because they're really struggling to get anything going offensively. In the outfield especially. It's been a real mess lately. Rubber match tomorrow. Hopefully the Pirates can make the most of that and take one. They haven't been swept yet this year.
Is this the one time where it finally happens and the Pirates get swept by the Reds?
Yeah, it very well could. And every time the Pirates lose and we have Gary on MLB Game Night, it's a virtual hug for Gary. He's wearing it. He feels it every single game. You've got Hunter Green going against you on Sunday. Can't feel good going back to the hotel in the Queen City of Cincinnati for the Pirates right now. Skeens can't pitch every day, and I thought their pitching would be better. But again, you might very well looking at another season of finishing in the basement, and we got a long way to go. And I'm making that statement saying I kind of believe the words coming out of my mouth.
There's a long way to go there. Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Skeens because sometimes two teams match up and it's pitchers you don't expect maybe a lot out of. Athletics and Mets, JT Ginn versus David Peterson. And Ginn outduels Peterson, 5 1/3 innings, 1 run on 6 strikeouts. David Peterson, 6 innings, 2 runs, and 5 strikeouts. Here's our guy Booney from the Locked On Athletics podcast with some of his thoughts behind what happened in that one.
I didn't know baseball games were only 8 innings. Well, that's if you are the A's and have the lead at the end of 8. This is Booney from Locked On A's, and after a crushing loss on Friday night, the A's bounced back with a huge 3-1 win today over the Mets to even the series at 1. Most of the action was in the 4th inning when rookie Jacob Wilson led off the inning with a double to extend his hit streak to 16 games dating back to last year. Tyler Soderstrom drove him in with a single up the middle. J.J. Bleday grounded out, plating his second run, and that's all the A's would need because the story today was former Mets top prospect J.T. Ginn, who the Mets traded away, just got called up from the minors to face the team that drafted him and absolutely dealt. 5 1/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 6 Ks with a 3-1 lead going into the 9th ball game as the Grim Reaper Mason Miller shut it down. Hard to have the best nickname and be the best closer in baseball at the same time. Senga, Severino in the rubber match tomorrow.
Boy, Booney is fun when they win, but Booney's fired up. The thing that I love in there that he mentioned, I think every player that he mentioned under the age of 24 really feels like the future. There's a bright future for quite a while there with the Athletics and this young talent they're developing.
Yeah, they'll all be ready for Las Vegas in a few years. You've already seen them trying to lock some guys up, and that's going to bode well. It's going to be an interesting couple of years. I love Brent Rooker, and it really seems like they're embracing Sacramento in the sense of this is where we're at. We knew it was going to be for 2025. We know it's going to be for the next couple of years. They embraced the last year in the Coliseum that was emotional throughout the course of the year. I really like the way this team is set, and we'll see. But Severino, again, he's going to face his former team on Sunday, as Booney mentioned there. And JT Ginn, they traded Bassett to get Ginn, and again, as another college arm, stay healthy, talent coming out of high school, talent coming out of college, putting it together.
Yeah, just going to be tons of fun there. You always love the guy facing his former team. Fun outfield notes there. Brent Rooker played the outfield for the first time this season. You have to wonder if that's starting to pave the way for Nick Kurtz, their top hitting prospect, to get called up. While Jose Siri for the Mets left the game with a shin injury, fouled a ball off of his own shin, had to leave that game. Going from a team with an incredibly young core to a team with a, let's call it a veteran core, the Yankees and the Giants. Yankees took down the Giants 8-4. Here's our guy, Jay Berman, with some of his thoughts about what happened in this one.
He's beat the Giants 8-4 in rainy New York. For a second consecutive day, it was freezing and it rained. This time, though, they finished 9 innings, unlike Friday night. Again, 8-4 the final score. Will Warren, his very first major league victory. 5 innings, strikes out 6. Ben Rice hit a home run. Top 3 Yankees in the order. Rice, Judge, and Bellinger all had 2 hits. Jason Dominguez snapped an 0 for 15. Jazz Chisholm now mired in an 0 for 21 funk. The Yankees, again, will try and take the rubber game of 3 on Sunday. Carlos Rodon and Logan Webb get the start. Again, 1:35 first pitch. Giants and Yankees, the final game of a 3-game series. And once again, it's the rubber game of 3. In this one, 8-4 the final score. 8-6 are the Yankees. They're now 5-3 at home. Again, 8-4 final score.
I think Jay's note was a little better than mine. I had the note that the top 4 guys in that lineup, so Rice, Judge, Bellinger, and Goldschmidt, combined to go 7 for 16 with 5 RBI, 7 total runs. Just domination from the top because, like he said, Chisholm, some of the other guys, Dominguez, have all been kind of quiet recently.
And a 5-run 5th inning where they don't hit a home run. So they can put hits together, and they can put a big inning together without the long ball. And Jay mentioned, Lindsay, in there, Will Warren, gonna be relied on here a lot going forward, because as we touched on, Marcus Stroman on Friday night didn't get out of the first inning, or Friday night with the rain-shortened game. Stroman's now on the IL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so they're going to need that depth, and Warren's going to give them that. We don't have a video from this one, but another team that's kind of needed some of their depth, the Atlanta Braves. They take down the Rays 5-4, 2-run home run in the 9th inning to give them the ultimate winning margin there. Much needed Braves victory there. First time this season they've come back when being down after 7. First time they've won on the road. Is this the start of the great comeback for the Atlanta Braves?
Using the long ball, 4 in the final 3 innings. Your closer, Iglesias, made things interesting in the 9th inning. Gave it the home run to Jonathan Aranda, but managed to get out of it. Yes, absolutely. I mean, you could look at this in 8, 10, 12, 14 days, 2 weeks from now, and say this was a victory against the Rays for the Braves on the road, as you mentioned, their first, that got them going in the right direction. It's going to take a while to get to 500 with the hole that they dug themselves in, but I think we remain confident that they do it. Maybe by the end of the month. There's still plenty of time in this month.
If Sean Murphy keeps hitting like this, he had 2 home runs in this game. Yep. He has 3 since coming back off the IL this week. Absolutely, it's going to happen pretty soon. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Okay, so Steve, there was some really interesting games in the middle part of the day today. Guardians and Royals, 6-3 win for the Guardians. We have some notes here from Justin Latta of Locked On Guardians about how that game went.
Home cooking, some better starting pitching, some offensive contributions down the lineup is all the Guardians needed to get on a roll. They have won 5 in a row, 2 straight series. They're going for a sweep on Sunday, the Kansas City Royals. Justin Latta here from Locked On Guardians. Luis Ortiz, 10 strikeouts, career high. Comes into this game, dominates with his fastball, locates it better up in the zone. He threw a bunch of changeups in this one, a better slider. The Guardians have been working around him with getting his changeup incorporated into the game a little bit more. Dominates the Kansas City Royals line, which was important because this was a pitcher's duel early on. And he gave the solo home run early on, and the Guardians rebounded with an RBI single from Gabriel Arias, who came back later and hit a home run. It's been the Gabriel Arias weekend for the Guardians offense. It's been the Angel Martinez weekend for the Guardians offense. He's got 5 hits. Arias has a bunch of hits and a couple of homers. They had a great weekend. You're getting offensive contributions from guys you don't expect. You got a great starting pitching performance from Luis Ortiz. The Guardians are playing clean ball defensively this week after the Chicago series. They are on a roll. They look confident right now. The bullpen was fantastic. Again, minus Emmanuel Clase. The Guardians have evaluated some things in terms of his pitch mix and location and getting some more zip on that cutter. We'll dive more into that on Monday's Lockdown Guardians with the Guardians. 5 in a row, 2 straight series win, going for the sweep on Sunday.
The Clase thing, I'm glad that Justin got to that. And they'll dive more to that on Monday. That was going to be my question to you. 4 hits, 2 runs allowed, gets 1 strikeout. That's now more runs allowed in 2025 than the entire 2024 regular season for Emmanuel Clase. Is this reason to be concerned, or is it okay because it's happening in games that they've already won?
I think there's reason to be concerned. And he was one of the highlights in the storylines on ESPN.com and the baseball page. And he's quoted, and I give him credit for being at his locker wherever he did his post-game interview with the media, but basically said, hey, he's human. This guy's been lights out. I mean, he's been a big part of their success. I go back to the previous series that these two teams played when he drilled Jonathan India, who, by the way, left this game with right quad tightness. Royals don't seem to be too concerned. Right now he's day-to-day. But Clase, early on in the season, I don't have my finger on the panic button, but you've got to watch him closely, I think, right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not only usage, but it's also, for a closer, it's the mental side of it. You need to be 100% confident taking that mound. Even if it's a 3-run lead in the 9th inning, you're asked to get the final 3 outs. If you're not working with that confidence, that becomes a big part of it.
Playing devil's advocate here, the last 4 seasons, he's combined for 289 1/3 innings, including 3 straight years of 72 innings or more in a season. We saw what that workload did to him in the postseason. Is it possible that some of this is just that overusage catching up with him?
It's very possible.
Yeah.
It really is.
And if that happens, I don't know what Cleveland does, because the bullpen's good, but everything's built around getting the ball to Clase in the 9th. That's how their whole thing works.
I don't know if it's a long-term thing, but remember on Friday it was Tristan McKenzie, right? Closing things out.
Tristan McKenzie took the 9th. Yeah.
And that was a 7-0 game. He preserved the shutout. Non-safe situation. But, when Clase's your guy, you rely on him to be your guy. I mean, and that's big for Cleveland.
They brought in Paul Sewald this offseason. Maybe they decided to go ahead and Yeah, we've seen how that works before. Okay, another game that required a closer to step up and do something. Marlins 7, Nationals 6. Here's our guy, Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins, with some of his thoughts on how this one went.
It may not have been the prettiest outing from Sandy Alcantara, but the Marlins win anyway. What's up, guys? It's Jeremiah Geiger from Locked On Marlins. And in a much-anticipated Sandy Alcantara start, he really didn't have his best stuff or the best execution of his stuff on the mound, but he pitches into the 6th inning and gets the win as the Marlins beat the Nationals 7-6. Kyle Stowers, Griffin Conine both had multi-hit games. Conine with a couple doubles, Stowers with another double. Both of them, I think, have established themselves as pieces for the Marlins, at least this season, if not well into the future. Matt Mervis hit his 4th home run of the season as well. He is somebody that's been on a really impressive stretch this last week of baseball games, so glad to see that from Matt Mervis. And the Marlins get back in the win column. They're 7-7. They're exactly 500 with the rubber game on Sunday.
To Jonathan's point on Alcantara, 5 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks to 1 strikeout. They need his trade value to be good. Is this a concern, or is this just everybody has a rough game?
October 2023, that's when he went under the knife with the Tommy John surgery, so still building up. I don't know that this start against the Nationals is going to send alarms around baseball. He's officially put on the market at some point in time.
Mm-hmm.
There are going to be teams that jump, and the Marlins, if they do it right, they're going to land a lot back in return for Alcantara. But second game in a row, Marlins jump out to a lead, give an early lead. It was 3-0 on Saturday, and they end up picking up the victory as the Nationals able to get back in the game with a 3-run fourth inning. But, he's, as you said, Lindsay, he's simply pitching to, the end of July and the trade deadline. And, fingers crossed every time he goes out there, he gets better, because next time out, he could go 6 or 7 scoreless. And we're like, add more to the package that they're going to get in return.
Every single time he goes out, it gives you a quality start. That's another, that prospect goes from a top 100 to a top 70 guy, then a top 50 guy. Yeah. Okay. Going from the National League East to the American League East. Orioles 5, Blue Jays 4. Couple interesting notes that I saw in this one. Anthony Santander hits his first homer as a Blue Jay, coming against his old team in Baltimore. But the Orioles turn 5 double plays to just completely shut down anything that Toronto's trying to get as far as offense. Thoughts on this game, and I guess the rubber match coming up tomorrow?
Yeah, one more to go in the series. Cedric Mullins 2-run double in the 6th inning. That put the Orioles up by a score of 5-3. Blue Jays had 2 on, 1 out in the 9th inning. Felix Bautista able to get the final 2 outs and pick up the save.
Speaking of mentioning Sandy's surgery, first save for Bautista since 2023. That save back in 2023 also came against Toronto. So kind of full circle after being injured and having Tommy John himself.
And he's pitching some games in the 9th inning where he's had, more than a 3-run lead, and they've worked him back here. And now, showing, he can get the outs. He can get those last 3 outs, the most important 3 outs in a ball game. And good for him. The Blue Jays, though, from week to week, I think we're going to be with the Blue Jays. We're going to buy high, we're going to buy, and we're going to sell, and we'll see where they're at come July, and then go from there.
A team it doesn't feel like we're going to need to wait to July to see where they are, but they keep surprising us so far. The Chicago White Sox, they take down your Boston Red Sox 3-2 in a walk-off. Here's Todd Welter from Locked On White Sox about what happened in this one.
Brooks Baldwin is your walk-off hero. Luis Robert Jr. might be breaking out of a season-starting slump, but most importantly, the White Sox have officially won a series in April. Hello, I'm Todd Welter, host of Locked On White Sox. Baldwin is proving why the team is starting to value him as a super utility player. Came off the bench to lace a pinch hit walk-off RBI single as the White Sox came back to win 3-2. They avoid being a get-right team that the Boston Red Sox TV crew was chirping about before this 3-game set. Baldwin has been asked to play short, second, and the outfield, and now hero. Robert Jr. was the man who scored the winning run, drawing a leadoff walk in the 9th. He also hit his first home run of the season with a 2-run blast in the 6th to tie the game up. And this has been his best series so far in this young season, and definitely the best for the White Sox as a whole.
Biggest concern for you for the Red Sox, probably, it's not the series loss. It has to be the injury to Richard Fitz, doesn't it?
It was stomach churning because he was terrific. 5 scoreless, had a 2-0 lead. First batter that he faces in the 6th inning sort of grabbed. They thought initially that it was a pectoral issue, as Todd mentioned there. The Nesson guys, Lou Merlone and Dave O'Brien, and talking about, hey, go to Chicago and get healthy there. He's going back to Boston. No idea, no indication, but you just felt for the guy. He's now made 7 big league starts. Saturday was maybe his absolute best. 5 scoreless. And then Kelly comes in, wasn't warming up at all in the bullpen, gives up the walk, the 2-run home run that Todd mentioned to Luis Robert Jr. And this game was ending, Lindsay, in the bottom of the 9th anyway. If it wasn't Baldwin against Aroldis Chapman, it was the next guy due up, Chase Meidroth, part of that package for Garrett Crochet, who goes Sunday with the Red Sox looking to avoid being swept, and he goes against his former team on Sunday in the finale.
You have to hope he can channel some of the former team magic that so many other guys in this show that we've talked about have had from today's action. All right, in just a second, I want to get to this Mike Trout fan interference thing. We'll do that next, right here on MLB Game Night. Okay, so it was a mostly uneventful Angels-Astros game, 4-1, right? Angels victory, but fan interference on Mike Trout trying to make a catch out in the outfield in foul territory in the game. Just kind of rough. Here's some of the thoughts from our guys over at Locked On Angels postcast about what happened in that one.
I'm going to come out and say it. Tonight's win, and depending on what happens tomorrow, a series win here Well, that might finally be enough to convince some rightfully skeptical Halos fans and the baseball world as a whole that this Angels team in 2025 is at least competent, but maybe even good. What's going on, everybody? Gavin Carlson here, the host of the Locked On Angels postcast. And after yesterday's embarrassing 14-3 loss in Houston, the Angels respond in a big way with an impressive 4-1 win against the Astros on Saturday night. The response, it was about as perfect as you could have asked for. How about 3 consecutive hits to start the game? A Taylor Ward leadoff single, a Luis Rengifo double, and a 2 RBI single from Mike Trout that made it 2-0 before the Halos even recorded an out. And on the other side, well, Tyler Anderson was darn right perfect. He didn't give up a hit until midway through the 6th inning. And yes, even when he had 3 consecutive walks to load the bases in the 4th, he got 2 big timeouts to get out of that one unscathed as well. Shanuel and Ward added solo home runs as well to make it 4-0. And despite a little hiccup in the 8th, Kenley Jansen came in the 9th and was perfect once again. The Halos move to 9-5 with the win, set up a huge rubber match in Houston tomorrow morning. And if they can win that one, it's time to start saying some serious things about this team. You can catch the rest of my thoughts on this game and every single Angels game on the Locked On Angels postcast.
Kind of surprising that Gavin didn't mention the Mike Trout fan interference thing, but why does this keep happening? Happened in the World Series to Mookie Betts, now happening to Mike Trout. Leave our outfielders alone.
The announcers initially were saying that Trout went into the stands and the fan was perfectly within his rights to go after the baseball. The look on the man's face as he was there with his son was interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but Trout met with them after the game. He was upset that he thought they were getting kicked out. I don't know if the fan gave up Houston officials or not, but there's a lot of a wink a lot of the times of, hey, we're going to move you out of here. We're going to act like we're kicking you out of the ballpark. But the man made mention of it and sold it down the river to say, no, we just moved our seats. We just moved. And that happens in a lot of the instances.
Yeah, it does.
But we've got to move you because people are going to be crazy and all of that. But Trout did meet with him after the game. Kudos to Mike Trout yet again, another feather in his cap because he's just terrific involved in those things and, made a young man very happy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's best possible outcome to kind of a bad situation there. And that's just, you expect nothing better than that from Mike Trout.
Can I say it?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to say it because Gavin didn't say this either. But right now, the Angels' opportunity to win their 5th straight series, they're doing this without Anthony Rendon. Thank you for that reaction. That's what I was looking for.
I still remember the news report about, or I guess the beat writer who did the thing last year after they talked about what the Nationals have struggled at third base without Anthony Rendon. They went and pulled it and they said the Angels have used more third basemen after signing Anthony Rendon than the Nationals use after they lost Anthony Rendon. So that's just like perfect, just a perfect encapsulation of some of the decisions and how they've backfired on this roster, on this team for so long. But this year, knock on wood, is going okay. Okay, another team, things are going okay. Phillies 4, Cardinals 1. Nick Castellanos, 3 for 4, 2 doubles, 2 RBI. To my knowledge, no disaster had to happen for him to do that. He just had a good game. Here's Connor Thomas from Locked On Phillies with his thoughts about how that game went.
The Philadelphia Phillies find a 4-1 win in Game 2 of their series with the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. And this is kind of what we expected heading into this series, right? Or at least what I did and what I think fans should have expected. The Phils were coming off that marathon game against the Braves that went into early Friday morning, hopped on a plane, went to St. Louis, and the Bats were dead asleep in Game 1. Well, you kind of expect that, right? That's a tough spot. I know. Oh, they're pro athletes. They're making all this money. They get tired just like normal humans do too. So I did not expect them to win Game 1. I did expect them to win Game 2 with Christopher Sanchez on the mound. A lot of double plays in this one, man. Phil's rolled, 5 double plays? Sanchez had 4 of them. Romano had another one. He has a 1, 2, 3, 5-pitch inning. You're just looking at a situation where, and I guess technically not a 1, 2, 3 inning for Romano because he let someone on, but the Phillies were pitching to contact, the middle infield, great defense all around. Nick Castellanos, 3 for 4. The Phils are fine. We'll talk more about it on Monday's episode of Locked On Phillies.
Definitely check out Locked On Phillies and check out to see what Connor has to say. But I missed 5 double plays there because you don't think of the Phillies as having good infield defense with Trey Turner at short, but they got it done.
Yeah, and again, they've got legit strikeout pitchers. And when they put the ball in play, it's nice to see that the defense can come up on any given game. But I agree with Connor of what he's saying. Along the lines of you kind of penciled in a loss on Friday with what they had to endure on Thursday. But to come back and beat the Cardinals, who are going to be without Mason Wynn for a while as he goes on the injured list, but it's a good series. And the Phillies. We'll talk about the Braves. We'll talk about the Mets in that division of, what can they be and all that. The Phillies, you just expect to be there, and who else is going to join them atop that division?
Yeah, it's just really kind of things just kind of seem to be going as planned for the Phillies, right? Hiccup on Friday, but other than that, this is the season they thought they had. Schwarber's mashing, Harper's mashing. They're, like you said, they're going to be fine.
They've become that team. It's wait till October, right?
Yeah. Just get to October, and then as long as the offense is hot, we can make a run. If the offense is not, we don't. Speaking of an offense that was not hot until the October of their game, the very last inning, Diamondbacks take down the Brewers 5-4 after walking it off with 5 runs in the ninth. Here's Chuck Freeman of Locked On Brewers, and I want to see just how sad he sounds about this. Let's see.
Wow. Did not see that coming. I was all ready to come on the post-game instant reaction, talk about another great pitching performance. Chad Patrick pitching into the 5th inning. 5 guys after him doing the job. Another win in Arizona. But instead, the Brewers blow a 4-0 lead in the bottom of the 9th inning. Payamps and McGill, and they lose 5-4. Unbelievable. Payamps faces 3 batters. He didn't have it. He got 1 out. And then McGill, the only batter he retired, was the final out, which was a sacrifice fly to win the game. Hard hit balls, base hits, walks, everything you could imagine. Unbelievable. Things were going so well in that game. How do you bounce back from a loss like that? Got to face Zach Gallen coming up on Sunday. He's always given the Brewers trouble. Freddie going for Milwaukee. But man, the Brewers could have clinched the series in Arizona, but they couldn't close out the bottom of the 9th inning. Payamps has got an issue right now. I don't know what it is. He can't get anybody out. McGill, that was his first blow-up of the year. We'll talk more about it Sunday night. Please subscribe here on Locked On Brewers.
3 hits, 4 walks in that inning for the Brewers. Just brutal.
Yeah, Alec Thomas, RBI, triple to get him on the board. Corbin Carroll came to the plate as a tying run, 2-run double. D-backs down 4-3 at that point. Perdomo against McGill. McGill fell behind 3-0, got it to 3-2. Perdomo worked out a walk on 8 pitches. And then McCarthy, who was 2 for 30, an RBI knock. And then, as Chuck mentioned, Lourdes Gurriel, sac fly, ball game over.
Just a tough look for the Brewers. You kind of feel bad for those guys, especially when you have your primary setup man and your primary closer are the guys that you go to in the 9th inning and can't get it done. Talk about a team with just some bad luck there. Cubs versus Dodgers. 16-0 victory for the Cubs. Roki Sasaki gives up 1 run in 5 innings and gets tagged with the loss, despite the fact this got so bad. Miguel Rojas pitched the final 2 innings for the Dodgers. Is this just one of those everybody has a blowout game where they just get blown out no matter what they do?
Hey, Dodgers 3-0 victory. Cubs just 2 hits on Friday and shut out for the first time. This was, we touched on it just before we went on the air. It was a 2-0 game through 6 innings. 5 in the 7th, 4 in the 8th, and then Rojas, 8th inning, 9th inning, gave up 5 runs in the 9th inning, run to the bat rack and put me in, Craig Counsell. And Ben Brown, 6 innings for the Cubs, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Good for him as well.
Yeah, just kind of doesn't help the Dodgers try to keep pace like they were doing. The Padres are now ahead of them in the win column. Padres take down the Rockies 2-0. Padres now have 12 wins to LA's 11. So definitely going to be interesting to see how this West shakes out. The Dodgers have not been playing as well as they could. The Padres are dealing with injuries. They don't have Jackson Merrill. They don't have Jake Cronenworth, but they find a way to get it done against the Rockies, against Chase Dolander. Takes the loss. And I believe it was it Kyle Hart pitches was it a 6 scoreless innings? Tatis takes Dolander, Hayward takes Dolander. That's all they needed.
Yeah, second straight shutout in the series for the Padres, 5th on the season. They've had 8 games this year where they've given up 2 runs or less. And you mentioned the 12 wins, 9-0 at Petco.
Yeah, my Braves went there and got swept in 4 games. They know how tough it is. And it's just when this version of the Padres, led by this version of Fernando Tatis, is hitting like this, they can take down anybody in baseball. The West might still be a battle. We'll see what happens. Folks, this has been MLB Game Night for Saturday, April 12th. You're listening on audio. Do us a favor. Leave us a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, whatever Google uses for their podcasts. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to Locked On MLB. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live tomorrow with another episode. Steve, any final thoughts on the slated games we had today?
I'm looking forward to seeing Garrett Crochet pitch against his former team. I'm looking forward to seeing Hunter Green pitch for the Reds as they'll go for the series sweep.
Just 2 young flamethrowers out there getting it done. That's going to be good watching on Sunday. Folks, this has been MLB Game Night.